So hello and welcome to another How Good Is. Now of course we all know that Vampire Kanagi is easily the hottest unit in all of Mega Record, but is she actually good? Well, I don't care, she's hot, but we need to actually worry about if you play her of course on your team, will she actually be able to kill enemies, survive for a while? What does she actually do? What is actually her playstyle? Well, she actually has a very unique playstyle, but we'll get to that. Her discs at first glance look a bit weird because she has 2 charge discs and 2 excel discs, which makes you think that she's gonna be about some sort of charge Magia strategy, and she is indeed a Magia type, but I actually think that her strategy is a little bit different from that. Once again, we'll get to that. Her stats are incredibly offensive, and on the defensive side, don't actually look that great. So you might be thinking that she's a very squishy character, and if you can actually hit her, then yes, of course, she is a very squishy character. But still, more on that later. Basically, all of the important stuff is at the very end of this, but keep all that in mind for now. Of course, the Connect, it gives attack up, it gives HP restore, not to self, and evade also not to self, but at least from what I saw. So, what does this Connect actually do for you? Well, you can use it, of course, to have some offensiveness with the attacker, but like I said, basically everyone has that. It's nothing special. The HP restore, okay, sure. I'm not quite sure. I mean, I guess if you're playing a Magia team, you kind of want to be defensive. And if you're being defensive, I guess the HP restore and also the evade on top of that is going to be quite nice. But these are not usually effects that I would like to have on my team, basically, when I play Vampire Kanagi. I don't have her, by the way. I didn't go for her. I need to save. Because I think it's probably better to play a more aggressive lineup with Vampire Kanagi to just try and rush down your opponent really fast, specifically within 5 turns. Once again, you're going to see why. So I don't think going defensive is quite the way to go. You probably just, like I said, would like to rush your team down, and this Connect doesn't really help you with that. So I would like to have seen more aggressive options on here, but that said, if you do want to play defensive, this is an alright Connect. The Magia, of course, which is probably going to be the most important thing because you're supposed to be a Magia type, deals MP damage to all enemies quite a lot. 70 MP gets removed from your enemy if you use this Magia. This means that on EX challenge quests where enemies slowly gain Magia, you'll be able to counter them with this, and it's going to be amazing. That said, there are also sometimes EX challenge quests where enemies instantly on one turn give them 100 MP, give themselves 100 MP, and then instantly use their Magia. Of course, this is nothing to stop that, because it all happens on their turn. So sadly, it doesn't help with every single occurrence of enemy Magias in EX challenge quests, but still, it does help when enemies gain Magia more slowly, and then you can completely punish them and make sure they don't get a Magia out. That said, while this does sound pretty awesome, you know what also stops enemy Magias from killing you? Giving them a Quell Bloom. Like if an enemy is Quell Bloomed, like Meteor Rained, when they use their Magia, then usually their Magia, even on EX challenge quests, will do maybe like 2000 damage with like 4000 damage. That's basically nothing. So that's also something to keep in mind. However, it also gives evade to self and HP restore to self. Once again, we're gonna get to why that's important. Like I said, most of the stuff comes later, but keep that in mind that an HP restore to self is probably the most important part of this entire Magia. And of course, the Doppel just does more. Well, the evade lasts for 2 turns. Okay, but apart from that, the rest of the effects are just stronger. Like what you would expect from this kind of Doppel. Like in general, what you expect from Doppels. Now, we actually get to the important part. This is probably the most important part about the entire thing, about the entire playstyle of Vampire Kanagi, because this, all that I've showed you so far, the Connect, the Magia, the stats, the discs, the person that I'm going to show you, which is terrible, none of this actually really makes her that powerful. Like, so far, she just seems like, yeah, whatever. She just seems like a, yeah, whatever kind of character right now, not actually that powerful. But we haven't gotten to a Spirit Enhancement yet, and the Spirit Enhancement is actually by far the most important part about her. It's what actually gives her her power. Most notably, she gets 30% attack up at full HP. That's kind of fucking powerful, isn't it? Yeah, this right here is probably the best thing about the entire kit of Vampire Kanagi. This note right here, that she gets 30% attack up at maximum health, is absolutely absurd. That's as strong as the bonus from Sword, and even stronger. Like the Sword bonus at maximum HP is 25%, I think. I think it's 25% at maximum HP, like that you get bonus for being at maximum HP. and here's 30%, so it's even stronger than that bonus, and you just have it passively on this character. Now, of course, we've seen that this doesn't really matter too much if you take damage. Now, what ways are there of taking damage? Of course, you can get hit directly. Hey, if you used your Magia, you've got an evade, so you're not gonna get hit directly after a Magia. That's awesome. You can help others not evade. I guess if you play 2 Vampire Kanagis, they can do this to each other, and they can, I don't know, keep each other evading somehow, and then they stay at full HP. What can they also do? Well, she can also heal herself. So if she drops below HP, she can use Magia, goes back to full HP, which is not actually a preferable way of doing it, like in this sequence, because if you're using your Magia to heal yourself up, that means you used your Magia without being at full HP, which means you used your Magia without this buff, without the 30% attack bonus, which, if you have another heal on your team, let's say you have a Madoka or a Kako or whatever, probably heal your Kanagi up first and then use your Magia, which sounds weird because then the HP restore does nothing, but then the Magia does more damage, which is why I think it would have been better if this Magia gave HP regen to self, so you can regenerate your HP up on your following turns. But still, if you have no other healer nearby or you don't care too much about the damage, you can use your Magia to get your damage bonus back up again, and once you have it, of course your evade keeps it safe. Now, what else is in here? Well, she just passively has 20% evade. Passively at all times, which is more than most people get, because most people get like 15%, she gets 20%, which is also kind of absurd. So, yeah, that's just more evades right here, awesome. She has anti-counter, so one of the ways you can take damage is of course getting countered, which barely ever happens. Like, I play mirrors like 3 to 5 matches every day, I don't get countered ever. Which is of course because I one-shot everything, but even if I didn't one-shot everything, right, just imagine there's a world where I don't one-shot everything on return 1 in mirrors, but if there was such a world, you don't actually get countered that much. There are a handful of characters that have a counter, like I think Sayaka or Kokoro, I think, passively have counters, but they're rather low chance, and of course they trigger after you hit them, so even if you attack them and then have them attack you back, you've already hit them once with your massive damage, so they're gonna be low HP probably. But yeah, at least there's a 45% chance that when an enemy was going to counter, they don't. So that's at least something else to have your HP stick around. What else do you get? You get regenerate HP, so if you just take a bunch of chip damage from small familiars, for example, then you can heal this right back up, which I think would have synergized well with the Magia giving HP regen, but it doesn't, so it gives HP restore instead. What else to do? Excel MP gain up and regenerate MP. You get 9 MP per turn to help you get to your Magia, which I think is actually rather important because, like I said, the disc said it's not an Excel Gorilla, doesn't have Excel draw on your personal, and you might say, oh, it's kind of close-minded to say that every single Magia character should either have Excel draw or be an Excel Gorilla. Yeah, but here's the thing: other characters that have either of those are basically always included in really good teams, or at least have the opportunity to be added to really good teams. Like Kako, her kit is decent, but the main reason why people play Kako is because she has an Excel draw, and that alone makes her powerful enough to be included in so many teams, right? And she's a free-to-play character, so... And also, I've seen even some people play Rika because she's an Excel Gorilla, even though his kit is kind of terrible. But she's an Excel Gorilla, so some people play her. And there's always something to keep in mind, that being Excel Gorilla or having Excel Draw is something that makes you already so useful that you're gonna get included in teams. And if you don't have it, you kind of need to have other stuff that kind of makes up for that. Because you can always... If you're on the team selection screen, you might see Vampire Kanagi, okay, but then next to that, you might see, for example, Ao or Karin, if you're looking for support, for example. And then you can compare them and say, wait a second, but she's Excel Gorilla. Oh, I like the Excel Gorilla. Even if you're looking for damage, I think maybe Yuna, like Yuna with 2 U's, I think is an Excel Gorilla as well. So maybe you go like, oh, maybe I want Yuna instead. Maybe you want a light type Excel Gorilla, which doesn't exist yet, by the way. So, yeah. Or maybe you want Rikaren, because Rikaren are Excel Gorillas and they're also very cute. So they're probably the cutest characters, and here we have the hottest characters. And they're kind of competing for the same spot somehow. Anyway, we're gonna continue on with the Spirit Hunter because we haven't talked about the rest of it yet. So, everything that I've talked about so far, it seems like, well, we're gonna try and keep Kanagi at full HP so she can keep punishing enemies and keep doing the suck on enemies. However, of course, one way of her getting attacked is her evade failing. Let's say, for example, there's a turn where you don't have your Magia, you haven't used your Magia, or your 20% evade fails. Doesn't it kind of suck? Well, first off, you have an evade, 100% chance that you can give yourself for one turn. Amazing. And you can also, and it also has MP Restore on self on it, so you can get to Magia even faster. Nice. So yay, you have the at least one turn with 100% evade. Okay, but what about the other turns? Okay, what about the other turns where you haven't used your Magia and where you haven't used your active? Well, the very first 5 turns of any quests, including mirrors, you just have 50% evade chance, just passively. You just have 50% evade chance. By the way, this is also probably the point where I should mention, once again, to people who aren't quite aware of this, if you have multiple sources of evade, only the highest one counts. So if you have here 50% chance to evade, and you also have the 20% chance to evade, only this 50% chance will actually count. You won't have 70 or 60 if you do it multiplicatively. You only have the 50% chance, but it lasts for the very first 5 turns from the start of a quest, which is also why earlier I said I wouldn't want to play this in a defensive lineup. I would like to play this in an aggressive lineup, because I would like my enemies to die before my 5 turns run out and my 50% drops down to 20% chance to evade. That's at least the idea that I had, that you can rush your opponents down in those 5 turns, and then you have like 5 turns at maximum of 50% evade. Awesome. But yeah, but you can counter evade, right? You can counter evade with Stealth Ailments. Just put a Stealth Ailment on Vampire Kanagi and she can't evade, right? It's a perfect counter. Stealth Ailments themselves already can deal damage, like poison, whatever. Deals damage themselves, gets her below 100% HP, will break her full gauge drive. Isn't that amazing? Well, you can't, because she negates the first 2 Stealth Ailments put on her. So, the very first 2 times that a Stealth Ailment would have hit Kanagi, it gets disabled and it doesn't hit her at all. So you're gonna have to use a whole bunch of Stealth Ailments on her to actually get through that shield and then still apply it. And of course, if you play her together with a Ultimate Madoka, which you probably want to do, not just for the Stealth Ailment resistance once somehow this gets dropped, but also the Stealth Ailment resistance, of course, helps you conserve these charges for longer. But also because, of course, Ultimate Madoka gives more regenerate HP. So if you somehow do drop below full HP, you have the regeneration from Ultimate Madoka, you have it from your passive. There are some Moria out there that are really, really good that also give it. For example, this one right here, like this for now, which is the limited one from Ultimate Madoka Gacha, which gives 20% damage increase. It also immunes you to stuns, so stuns can't break through your Stealth Ailment shields anymore, and also regenerates HP. Awesome. Of course, we also know this one, Walking Entwined Path, 30% damage increase and 5% regenerate HP. Does that mean you want to play both of them? No, because they're both damage buffs and you want to have an attack buff in there. You want to at least have one attack buff in there, right? There actually is a passive attack buff in Moria during this event, but that Memoria isn't that super powerful. Although if you're playing on a rather fresh account, let's say you started this year and you rolled Vampire Kanagi, you definitely want that Memoria. I'm going to show it to you in a second, but first off, let's talk the rest about Vampire Kanagi herself. So overall, her entire kit is all focused about staying at maximum HP and keep making sure that you can keep evading, that you can negate Stealth Ailments, and of course, that you get absolutely destroyed by anti-evade. I'm sorry guys, she gets absolutely mauled to death by anti-evade. She has absolutely no defensives. If anyone with anti-evade so much as looks at her and is an offensive focused character, like any offensive focused character with anti-evade will absolutely destroy her, probably in one hit. Mokyu, for example, most people put anti-evade on Mokyu, most people put anti-evade on their Yosuru as well, sorry I forgot the name. Most people put in general, if they have anti-evade, they will put it on their big attackers, and of course big attackers will have an absolute field day with their anti-evade against Kanagi. Of course, what sources are there of anti-evade? Well, the 2 biggest ones were Special Seed, which is the new Memoria that came out during this anniversary, which at maximum break has 100% anti-evade, and of course the other one being Space Hug, which is the limited Ultimate Madoka Memoria, which gives at maximum break 85% anti-evade. And if someone has either of those, Kanagi is just dead. They're basically vampire hunters. Anyone who has either of these 2 Memoria becomes a vampire hunter, and Kanagi just, sadly, your hotness doesn't protect you from getting impaled, so I'm sorry about that. So overall though, what can we say about Kanagi, Vampire Kanagi as a character? Well, she is what I would describe as a gimmick character, and you know, usually gimmick characters are seen as something bad. Oh, you don't want gimmick characters, you want characters who just have power and don't have to rely on a gimmick. However, her gimmick, which is being at full HP all the time and making sure that you stay at full HP by evading and getting stats and whatever, that is a really strong gimmick. That's the thing. She has a really powerful gimmick, so powerful that I would say that she's a really, really good character. She's an amazing character. However, you have to specifically dodge anti-evade, and that is a bit weird, because when I go into a battle in Mirrors, I don't think to myself, which of these enemies might have anti-evade? That's usually not a question I ask myself, because I don't play around evade. But now you have someone who very much plays around evade, and now you specifically have to target enemies that might have anti-evade. In PvE as well, there are some PvE quests where enemies have anti-evade, especially EX challenge quests. Like sometimes EX challenge quests don't have anti-evade and you can cheese them with like a solo Orico. And sometimes they do have anti-evade and you're getting absolutely destroyed. So you need to very specifically look out for all of these instances of anti-evade, because they will eat her for breakfast. And that kind of sucks. But that said, all of that aside, she is a really good character, but also her character is actually kind of bad, whatever. However, I wanted to show you guys some more Memoria about that you can play together for, that they might need to watch out for, so I'm gonna do that. Okay, so we talked about this one before, we talked about this one before, but what about your other Memoria that you might want to play on Vampire Kanagi? Well, of course, Sword. Because you're gonna play around staying at full HP all the time anyway, so you might as well go full out and go Sword. And with just Sword and your passive that you have as Vampire Kanagi, you get to 75% attack up. You're almost capping on attack up just with this one Memoria. That's absolutely absurd. And of course you put probably this one on there because it has the highest damage increase out of those two, or this one for even more defensive anti-stun stuff. But yeah, what do you need to look out for? Well, as I said, Space Hug, this one, 85% anti-evade, eats you for breakfast. Usual Special Seed, the absolute Vampire Killer, anti-evade 100%. Oh my god, you get absolutely destroyed by this. Watch out for enemy Blast Gorillas on whales. If you see a whale team with Blast Gorillas, they're gonna have this. So dodge those as much as you can. Also, by the way, I haven't talked about the other two Memoria that are in this gacha, because yeah, this is a Fate Weave review and there's other Memoria. This one is absolutely amazing for any Magia type character. It gives NP gain up and damage increase, absolutely amazing. But once again, don't draw gacha only for Memoria. However, once again though, if you are drawing for Vampire Kanagi and you happen to get some of these are really good. What else is there in there? We have Heart of Sincerity, chance to chase 30%. This is terrible. Whatever, who cares? Now, one thing, there's also this one. By the way, this is not in the gacha. This is in the event, but I wanted to mention it because earlier I said this one you can get during the event, gives attack up and regenerate HP. If you are a fresh account and you don't have any of the other Memoria that I just mentioned that are really good on Kanagi, this is one that you can put on her over Sword. So instead of Sword, you would have this, and then probably Walking in Twine Path. They're both Memorias that give regenerate HP and a good damage bonus, and they both are free Memoria that you got for playing an event. Isn't that amazing? But yeah, that was basically it so far. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and I'll see you guys next time.